2,347 messages. I know the exact number because I sat there and scrolled through every single one. Took me 3 hours. Started at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday night and didn't stop until 2 in the morning. My thumb was cramping. My eyes were burning. But I couldn't stop, couldn't look away, because every message I read was like a knife. Good morning. Beautiful. Can't wait to see you today. Thinking about you. Miss you already. I love the way you laugh. You make everything better. 2,347 messages between my husband and his coworker Amanda. The woman he told me was just a friend, just someone from work. Nothing to worry about. And I'd believed him. For 8 months, I'd believed him. My name is Rachel. I'm 36 years old. And this is the story of how my husband had an emotional affair right in front of me while convincing me I was crazy for being worried. How I lost myself, trying to trust someone who was lying to my face every single day. And how I finally learned that sometimes your gut is right even when everyone tells you you're wrong. But before I understood what was really happening, I almost destroyed myself trying to save a marriage that was already over. Before I continue, I need to tell you something important. This story is a fictionalized narrative created to protect the privacy of real people. Names have been changed, details altered, but every single emotion, every moment of finding messages that break your heart, every word of gaslighting. When you know something is wrong, every second of being told you're paranoid when your instincts are screaming at you, all of this is based on real experiences. Real American women. Real marriages destroyed by emotional affairs and the lies that protect them. If you recognize yourself in this story, if this sounds like something you're living through right now, you are not alone. Emotional affairs are more common than physical ones, and the path forward that I'm about to share with you might help you find your way out too. I need you to understand who I was before all this started. I was a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized consulting firm in Seattle. Had been there for 6 years. Loved the creative side of it. Coming up with campaigns, working with designers, seeing our work actually make a difference for clients. I had my own life, my own friends. Took a pottery class on Thursday nights. Went to book club once a month. Had brunch with my college roommate every Sunday. I was happy, the kind of happy where you're grateful for your life, where you think you're one of the lucky ones who has it. Figure it out. A good job, a good marriage, a good life. I'd been married to Michael for 7 years when this started. We'd met at a mutual friend's barbecue. I was 26. He was 28. He worked in finance, investment banking, made good money, was ambitious but not arrogant about it. We talked for hours that day about travel, about books, about wanting to move to Seattle from the East Coast. Both of us wanted something different, something bigger. 6 months later, we moved together. Got an apartment in Capitol Hill. Small 1-bedroom, but it was ours. Our adventure. We got married 2 years after that. Small. Wedding. Just close family and friends. Honeymoon in Costa Rica. Came back and bought a house. In Ballard. 3 bedrooms. Needed work, but we were excited about it. Spent weekends at home. Depot. Painting walls. Installing new light fixtures. Building a life together. For the first 6 years, things were good. Really good. We had our routines. He'd make coffee in the mornings. I'd make dinner at night. We'd watch shows together. Go hiking on weekends. Visit his parents in Boston once a year. My parents in Portland twice a year. It was stable, comfortable. Maybe not fireworks anymore, but that's normal, right? That's what happens when you've been together for years. The excitement fades, but it's replaced by something deeper. Partnership, comfort, knowing someone completely. Or at least I thought I knew him completely. I had no idea how wrong I was. Amanda started working at Michael's firm in March. I remember because he mentioned her at dinner one night, casual, just talking about his day. Said they'd hired someone new for his team. Woman named Amanda. Used to work at Goldman. Really smart. Was going to be a good addition. I said that's great. Didn't think anything of it. Why would I? Over the next few weeks, he'd mention her occasionally. Amanda had a good idea in the meeting today. Amanda figured out that problem with the Johnson account. Amanda's really sharp. And I'd nod. Say that's nice. I was happy he had a good teammate. Happy his work was going well. I had no reason to worry. No reason to think anything was wrong. The first shift happened about a month after she started. April. Michael started staying late at work. Not every night. Just once or twice a week at first. He'd text around 6 saying don't wait up for dinner. Got caught up in something. Going to be here late. And I'd say okay. No problem. Heat up. Leftovers when you get home. I understood. His job was demanding. Sometimes things came up. Sometimes you had to stay late. That's how it works. But then it started happening more. 3 nights a week. For nights a week. And when he'd come home, he'd be on his phone, texting, smiling at his screen. I'd ask who he was talking to, and he'd say just work stuff. Amanda and I are working on this project together. We're messaging about strategy. And I'd accept that. Because why? Wouldn't I? I had no reason not to trust him. By May, something else started changing. The way he was with his phone. He'd always been pretty casual about it before. Would leave it on the counter. Wouldn't care if I picked it up to check the time. But suddenly he was protective of it. Would take it with him to the bathroom, to the bedroom. Would turn it face down on the table. And if I walked into a room while he was texting, he'd quickly switch apps or put it away. I noticed. But when I mentioned it, lightly, just said, hey, you're on your phone a lot lately, he got defensive. Said, I'm not on it more than usual. You're just being sensitive. And I felt guilty. Like I was being paranoid. Like I was imagining things. So I dropped it. Told myself I was overreacting. In June, we went to a work event. His company's summer party. It was at a rooftop bar downtown. Nice place. Good view. I was actually excited. Hadn't been to one of his work things in a while. Wanted to meet his new team. Have a fun night out. We got there around 7. Michael introduced me to people. His boss. A few guys from his department. And then Amanda. She walked over and he said, oh, Rachel, this is Amanda. The coworker I've been telling you about. And I looked at her. She was younger than me. Maybe 29, 30. Tall. Blonde. Wearing this perfect dress. Big. Smile. She shook my hand and said, so nice to finally meet you. Michael talks about you all the time. And something felt off. The way she said his name. The way she looked at him. This familiarity. This easiness. Like they had inside jokes I wasn't part of. But I pushed it down. Smiled. Said nice to meet you too. Throughout the night, I watched them. Couldn't help it. They gravitate toward each other. Stand. Close. Laugh at each other's jokes. And at one point, I saw her touch his arm. Just briefly. While telling some story. And he didn't pull away. Didn't seem uncomfortable. Just smiled at her. And I felt sick. Felt this pit in my stomach. On the drive home, I said something. Said Amanda seems nice. He said, yeah, she's great to work with. I said you guys seem pretty close. He glanced at me. Said what? Do you mean? I said I don't know. Just seemed like you were really comfortable with each other. And he laughed. Actually laughed. Said Rachel, she's my coworker. We work together every day. Of course, we're comfortable with each other. Are you seriously jealous right now? That word, jealous, made me feel small, petty, irrational. So I said no, of course not. Just an observation. And he said, well, don't make observations like that. It's weird. Makes me feel like you don't trust me. And I apologized. Actually apologized for bringing it up. July was worse. He started mentioning her constantly. Amanda thinks we should approach the Miller account this way. Amanda made this hilarious joke in the meeting. Amanda recommended this restaurant. Amanda. Her name was everywhere. And I'd try to say something, try to express my discomfort, and he'd shut me down immediately. Would say you're being insecure, you're being paranoid. There's nothing going on. She's just a coworker. Do you want me to quit my job? Because that's what you're suggesting. Making me feel like I was the problem. Like my feelings were invalid. Like I was trying to control him. So I stopped saying anything, kept it inside, tried to convince myself I was wrong, that I was being the crazy jealous wife everyone warns men about. By August, our sex life had changed. It wasn't happening as much, maybe once every 2 weeks. When it did happen, he seemed distant, like he was going through the motions. I'd try to initiate, and he'd say he was tired, had a long day, a lot on his mind, and I'd feel rejected, feel unsexy, feel like I was doing something wrong. I bought new lingerie, tried to plan date nights, tried to reconnect, but it felt like he was pulling away, like there was this wall between us that I couldn't break through. And when I tried to talk about it, tried to say I feel like we're disconnected, he'd say, "You're overthinking things. Everything's fine. You're creating problems that don't exist." And I'd wonder if maybe he was right. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was creating problems. My friends started noticing something was off with me. My best friend Jenna asked me multiple times if I was okay. Said I seemed stressed, distant, not myself. I wanted to tell her, wanted to say I think my husband might be having an emotional affair, but I couldn't, because saying it out loud made it real, made me have to face it, and I wasn't ready. So I'd say I'm fine, just tired. Work has been busy. And she'd look at me like she didn't quite believe me but didn't want to push. My book. Club friends commented too. Said I'd been quiet lately. Seemed distracted. I'd make excuses. Smile. Change the subject. But inside, I was dying. Inside, I knew something was wrong. But I couldn't prove it. And Michael kept telling me I was imagining it. So I started to doubt myself. Started to think maybe I was crazy. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe I was ruining a perfectly good marriage by being insecure. It was a Wednesday night in September when everything changed. Michael was at what he said was a late client dinner. Said he'd be home by 10. It was 9:30. I was getting ready for bed, and his laptop was on the kitchen table. He'd left it open. Usually he was religious about closing it, about shutting it down. But that night he'd forgotten. And I walked past it, glanced at the screen, and saw a message notification pop up from Amanda. It said, "Miss you. Can't wait for tomorrow." And I froze, stood there staring at that notification. Miss you. That's not something a coworker says. That's not a work message. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. And I did something I'd never done before. I sat down at his laptop, opened his messages, and started reading. The first few were innocuous, about work, about projects. But then they changed, got more personal, more intimate. He'd tell her about his day, about things he used to tell me. She'd send him pictures of her coffee, of her outfit, asking if it looked good. He'd respond with compliments, with emojis, with flirtation that was unmistakable. I kept scrolling, kept reading, and the messages got worse, more frequent, more intense. Good morning texts every single day. Good night texts every night. Messages during lunch, during breaks. Constant communication. 2003, 147 messages. Over 8 months. Averaging almost 10 messages a day. Every single day. Talking about their feelings. About how much they enjoyed working together. About how they understood each other. About how she made his day better. About how he looked forward to seeing her. About inside jokes I wasn't part of. About moments they shared that I knew nothing about. And then I found the really painful ones. The ones where he complained about me, about our marriage, told her I didn't understand him, that I'd been distant lately, that things weren't good at home, made me sound like the problem, like the reason he was unhappy, when I'd been trying so hard to fix things, to reconnect, to make our marriage work. And he'd been telling this woman that I was the issue, that our marriage was failing, that he wasn't happy, while telling me everything was fine, while telling me I was imagining problems, while gaslighting me into thinking I was crazy. I sat there until 2 a.m. reading every message. Couldn't stop. Needed to see it all. Needed to understand the full extent of what had been happening right under my nose. And when I finally finished, when I'd read the last message, I just sat in that chair, in the dark, in the silence. And I felt numb, felt empty, felt like my entire life had been a lie. The man I'd been married to for 7 years, the man I'd built a life with, the man I'd trusted completely, had been having an emotional affair, had been sharing his emotional intimacy with another woman, while lying to me, while making me feel crazy for suspecting it, while destroying my sense of reality. Michael got home around 11:30, an hour and a half late from when he said he'd be back. I was still sitting at the kitchen table, his laptop still open in front of me. He walked in, saw me, and his face changed, saw what I was looking at. He said, "Rachel." I didn't say anything, just looked at him. He said, "It's not what you think." And I laughed, actually laughed, because of course that's what he'd say. That's what they always say. It's not what you think. I said I read them all 2,347 messages. He went pale, said, "You went through my private messages?" Like that was the issue. Like the violation was me reading them, not him sending them. I said, "You've been having an emotional affair for 8 months with Amanda," while telling me I was crazy for being worried, while making me feel like I was paranoid and insecure. He said, "It's not an affair. We're just friends. We work together. We talk. That's it." I said, "Friends don't send good morning beautiful texts every single day. Friends don't say miss you and can't wait to see you. Friends don't complain about their spouses to each other. Friends don't have secret emotional intimacy that they hide from their partners. This is an affair. It doesn't matter that you didn't sleep with her. You gave her the emotional intimacy that belongs to me. You shared your life with her, your feelings with her, while shutting me out, while lying to me, while making me think I was losing my mind." He tried to defend it, said I was overreacting, that I didn't understand, that it was just friendship, that I was making it into something it wasn't. And I said, if it was just friendship, why did you hide it? Why did you lie? Why did you gaslight me when I told you I was uncomfortable? Why did you make me feel crazy? He didn't have an answer for that. Just stood there, silent. I told him to leave, to go stay somewhere else. I needed time to think, time to process, time to figure out what I wanted to do. He said, "No, this is my house too. I'm not leaving. We can work this out. We can fix this." And I said, "How? How do we fix the fact that you betrayed me, that you lied to me for 8 months, that you made me doubt my own sanity, that you chose her over me every single day?" He said, "I didn't choose her. I love you. I want our marriage." And I said, "Then why does she get your good morning texts? Why does she get to hear about your day? Why does she get the version of you that's happy and present, while I get the version that's distant and checked out? Answer me that." He couldn't. So I told him again, "Leave. Now." And eventually he did. Packed a bag, went to stay with his brother, left me alone in our house, in our marriage, in the wreckage of everything I'd thought was real. The first few days after he left were a blur. I called in sick to work. Couldn't function. Couldn't think about anything except those messages. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Just replayed everything in my mind. Every lie he'd told. Every time he'd made me feel crazy. Every moment I doubted myself when my gut had been right all along. I felt stupid. Felt naive. Felt like I should have known. Should have trusted my instincts. Should have pushed harder when I knew something was wrong. But mostly I felt betrayed by the person who was supposed to be my partner, my teammate, the person I trusted most in the world. I finally told Jenna everything. She came over with wine and Thai food and just let me talk. Let me cry. Let me rage. And she said something I'll never forget. She said, "Rachel, this isn't your fault. You didn't make him do this. He made a choice. Every single day for 8 months, he made a choice to prioritize her over you, to lie to you, to gaslight you. That's on him, not you." And hearing that helped me stop blaming myself, stop wondering what I could have done differently. Because the truth was, I'd done nothing wrong. I'd been a good wife, a faithful wife, a wife who tried to communicate when something felt off. And he'd shut me down, made me doubt myself, while carrying on an emotional affair. Michael came back after a week, wanted to talk, said he'd ended things with Amanda, told her it was inappropriate, that he needed to focus on his marriage, said he wanted to fix this, wanted to go to counseling, wanted another chance. And part of me wanted that too. Part of me wanted to go back to before, to when I didn't know, when I could still believe our marriage was good. But I couldn't unknow what I knew now, couldn't unsee those messages, couldn't unhear all the lies. So I told him I needed time, real time, to figure out if I even wanted to try. We did go to counseling, started seeing a therapist who specialized in infidelity. And in our first session, Michael kept trying to minimize it, kept saying it wasn't a physical affair, like that made it better, like emotional betrayal somehow counted less. But the therapist stopped him, said, emotional affairs are just as damaging, sometimes more damaging, because they involve the sharing of emotional intimacy, the formation of a bond that should exist between partners. And that's exactly what you did. You formed an intimate bond with another woman while making your wife feel crazy for noticing. That's betrayal. That's infidelity. And Michael finally got it. Finally understood the magnitude of what he'd done. We worked on it for 3 months, went to therapy every week. He showed me his phone, deleted Amanda's number, changed jobs actually, said he couldn't work there anymore, not with her, needed a fresh start. And I appreciated that, appreciated him taking it seriously. But something had broken in me, some fundamental trust. Every time he picked up his phone, I wondered who he was texting. Every time he came home late, I wondered where he'd been. I'd become the paranoid wife I'd been accused of being, except now I had a reason. Now my paranoia was earned, and I hated it, hated who I'd become, hated living in constant suspicion, hated that I couldn't trust the man I'd married. It was 4 months after I'd found the messages when I finally made my decision. We were in the kitchen. He was making dinner. I was setting the table, and he said something totally innocent, about his day, about a coworker. And I felt it, that spike of anxiety, that immediate suspicion, that need to ask follow-up questions, to monitor, to check. And I realized, I can't live like this. Can't spend the rest of my life wondering if he's being honest. Can't spend every day looking over his shoulder. Can't spend our marriage trying to earn back trust that should have never been broken in the first place. So I told him, I said I want a divorce. I can't do this anymore. He was devastated, said he'd changed. He'd done everything right. He'd been transparent, been honest, been working hard in therapy. And I said, I know you're trying, but I can't get past it. I can't forget those messages. Can't forget how you made me feel. Can't forget that you chose her over me every day for 8 months. And I deserve someone who chooses me, who doesn't need an affair to realize they want me, who doesn't need to lose me to appreciate me. The divorce took 6 months. It was amicable. We didn't have kids. We split everything fairly. He got the house. I didn't want it anymore. Too many memories, too many ghosts. I moved into a small apartment in Fremont, 1 bedroom, barely any furniture at first, but it was mine. Clean, new, no history. I could breathe there. Could think there. Could start figuring out who I was outside of being. Michael's wife. Today, 2 years after finding those messages, I'm good. Really good. Not perfect. I still have trust. Issues. Still catch myself looking for red flags that aren't there. Still have moments where I wonder if I'll ever fully trust someone again. But I'm working on it. I'm in therapy once a week. Learning that not everyone is like Michael. That betrayal doesn't have to define my future relationships. That I can trust my gut without becoming paranoid. I'm still at my job. Got promoted actually. Senior. Marketing coordinator. I'm good at what I do. I pour my energy into my work, into my friendships, into my pottery, into building a life that's mine. Full. Complete. Without needing a relationship to validate it. I did start dating again. About a year ago. Nothing serious yet. Just seeing what's out there. Relearning how to trust. How to be vulnerable. It's scary. Terrifying actually. That first time I gave someone my phone to show them a photo and felt that panic. That what if they scroll through my messages, then realized I have nothing to hide. I'm not doing anything wrong. They can look at whatever they want. That was freeing. Realizing I'm not Michael. I don't have secret conversations. I don't lie to my partners. I don't gaslight people. I'm honest, transparent, the kind of partner I deserve to have. If you're in a relationship where your gut is telling you something is wrong, listen to it. Your intuition is not paranoia. Your instincts are not insecurity. If something feels off, it probably is. And if your partner is making you feel crazy for noticing, that's a red flag. That's gaslighting. That's manipulation. Healthy partners don't make you doubt your reality. They don't dismiss your concerns. They don't call you paranoid or jealous or insecure for having feelings. They listen. They validate. They address the issue, not shut you down. Emotional affairs are real. They're betrayal. They count. It doesn't matter that it wasn't physical. Doesn't matter that they didn't sleep together. If your partner is sharing emotional intimacy with someone else, if they're forming a bond that should exist between partners, if they're giving their emotional energy to someone who isn't you, that's cheating. That's infidelity. And it's just as damaging as a physical affair. Sometimes more, because it means they chose to share their inner life with someone else while shutting you out. If you've discovered your partner is having an emotional affair, I'm so sorry. I know how much it hurts, how betrayed you feel, how much you doubt yourself, wondering what you did wrong, what you could have done differently. But let me tell you, you did nothing wrong. This isn't about you. It's about them, about their choices, their betrayal, their lies. You are not responsible for someone else's decision to cheat, to lie, to gaslight. That's on them. Here's what helped me. First, trust yourself, your gut, your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Don't let anyone make you feel crazy for having feelings. Your emotions are valid. Your concerns are valid. You are valid. Second, talk to someone, a friend, a family member, a therapist, someone who will listen without judgment. Someone who will validate your experience. I kept it inside for too long, tried to handle it alone. My life only got better when I let people in, when I admitted I needed help. Third, decide what you want, not what you think you should do, not what makes sense logically, but what you actually want. Do you want to stay and work on it? Or do you want to leave? There's no wrong answer. Both are valid. Both are okay. But make sure you're choosing for you, not for him, not for anyone else, for you. You deserve a partner who chooses you, who is honest with you, who makes you feel secure, not paranoid, who builds you up, not tears you down, who shares their emotional life with you, not with someone else. If the person you're with can't give you that, they're not the right person. No matter how much history you have, no matter how much you love them, no matter how much you've invested, you deserve better. If you're watching this and your stomach feels tight right now, if you're recognizing yourself in this story, if you're starting to wonder if what you're experiencing might be an emotional affair, trust that feeling. Don't ignore it. Don't minimize it. Don't let anyone convince you you're overreacting. Listen to yourself. Honor your feelings. And if you need to, reach out for help. You don't have to. Figure this out alone. Leave a comment, even if it's just to say you're here. I'll know. This channel exists so you know you're not alone. So you know other women have faced this and survived. Subscribe if this story resonated, because every week I'm sharing stories about women who chose themselves, who found their strength, who rebuilt their lives. You can too. I believe in you.